All right, welcome to the Unnamed Cybersecurity Podcast. Matt has been kidnapped, allegedly. So we have Bob, Carl, and myself. Uh, Bob likes to cover the Northeast. I guess Carl's the Northeast too. So
I'm
I'm
more
representing the
northeast.
Midwest. Yeah, I'm
It's a little bit
representing.
more. It's north south.
Okay, you guys aren't that far apart. Let's be
We're
real.
not that far now.
It's all good.
I'm covering the
We're fine.
Midwest.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about Mountain or Pacific time zone apparently because nobody wants to join us from there, unfortunately. But we got some interesting stuff this week. CDK allegedly is back up. Yeah, let's give them a hand.
Yeah.
Hand, yeah, a little over
Well, the
2
same
weeks for the
people
dealers.
who've been in charge of the CDK attack, protecting the dealerships and everything, was also involved in negotiating the ransom for Matt. So we're not sure if Matt will be back next week.
We don't pay ransoms for people on this show, so sorry guys. But that was some interesting news with CDK coming back up. We haven't heard much since then. I did look for the AK stuff, but they haven't published anything for it. So we'll see how that goes. We have
I think all the service advisors that were in the CDK group that were complaining when it was down are now totally overwhelmed because some of them had to come in on the 4th of July, I saw, to start entering the backlog. So they were not a happy camper.
Now this whole weekend has probably been a miserable experience if you're a service, one of these service techs for one of these companies.
I saw they were talking that economic impact might be $1 billion for all those dealers that are dealing with that. So I couldn't imagine how much more time they're going to pay for people to kind of go in there and fix that. It's kind of crazy. Let's talk about a different attack that might actually affect people as well. Evolve Bank and Trust got hit by Lockbit apparently back in May, and they didn't pay the ransom apparently. So that came out. Initially, Lockbit said that they hacked the Federal Reserve, and we were all like, I don't think they hacked the Federal Reserve. I feel like this would be information. It turned out it was like 33 terabytes from Evolve Bank and Trust allegedly. So I think they're an Arkansas-based bank, but their notifications go out today. So if you use a service like a firm for like that buy now pay later situation, apparently they used Evolve Bank, so you may get a notification for that. But they have what happened, and I just kind of want to cover this real quick on their website, right? They established like a website, cybersecurity incident report, essentially. And on May 31st, they said they stopped the attack within days, and they haven't seen any unauthorized activity since May 31st. So what they didn't say is how long was their unauthorized activity in their systems. They say in late May, and then they say as of May 31st they haven't seen anything. They hired outside specialists, which is typical in this situation, and they identified the criminal organization as Lockbit, who's been hitting a lot of people. They've been in the news quite a bit recently. They apparently gained access to the system by an employee just clicking on a link in an email. Actually, they didn't say an email, they said an internet link. So this could have been a website. This could have been something else. It could have been some other attack, but they just said internet link. They say that there's no evidence that criminals did anything with customer funds. That's good. But they did access and download customer information from their database and file shares. During periods in February and May, I think their cyber incident report is missing some information here. They said in May, but then they say down below that they actually stole data during February too. Interesting. They did encrypt some of the environment, but they had backups, so they had minimal data loss. They did not pay the ransom, and as a result, they did admit that it was leaked, and they did admit that the Federal Reserve Bank leak was theirs, so that's good. Here's what they did, though. This is the important part. I want you guys to understand this. These are the 4 things they highlighted of what they did since becoming aware of this incident. Ready for this? This is an exhausting list, guys. They reset passwords globally. They reconstructed critical identity access management components, including Active Directory. So
Because it was compromised.
That tells me they didn't know how bad it was compromised, so they rebuilt it. I don't know how many employees they have. That sounds terrifying. They further hardened their firewalls and dynamic security appliances. I don't know what a dynamic security appliance is referring to, but interesting. And
So they installed the patches on the firewall that they were behind.
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe they had some network detection response appliances that didn't work, apparently. But this is the kicker. They deployed endpoint detection response and other security tools to harden the network. They didn't say replace. They said deploy.
Well, you mean they got rid of Norton antivirus or Avast free and not saying allegedly, and see it to get a more advanced, robust system?
I'm
Or a
interested in
system
this.
period is what he said.
Period. A system. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing like what more they say about this, and I know they don't want to give away all the keys, everything they did, because they don't want to give that much information. But they also said that they're in the process of further strengthening our security response protocols, policies, and procedures, and our ability to detect and respond to suspected incidents. Maybe you should also work on how to write a report where you say it happened in late May, but then they said they stole data in February and May. There's some holes here. But yeah, I mean, this is just constantly what we see over and over again. We talk about incident response. We talk about being able to detect and respond to incidents, but it's like the same. It's like the same story. This is basically like every Hollywood blockbuster now. It's just a rehashed version of a movie from 30 years ago. That's what it feels like. It feels like that's what we live in every day. It's
So over the weekend, I was going through what I thought was junk mail sitting at the front door, and I actually found 2 notices of data breaches affecting both me and my wife, 2 different instances, and one of them was a notice that a breach was detected like 6 months ago, and it took them that long to figure out that I was included in the incident, and they did notify me within. I think they notified me within 28 days of them realizing that I was listed there, but it's still 7 months out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes investigations take a little bit of time. It depends on how bad it was. I feel like though that these ones that have they have critical information, right? Like a bank, a mortgage place, right? They have they have personal information. How does it take that long to figure that out?
Well,
I mean,
I think it depends on the platform in some cases.
maybe.
I was involved with a company once that had a data breach, but the data breach was all of client entered data in unformatted fields. So these guys had to go through and deduplicate all this data by hand, looking at it to figure out who was actually involved when they ultimately did it. And as the service provider, I could have been listed in there 3 or 4 times: R. Mitchie, Bob Mitchie, Robert Mitchie, and that was all sitting out there. So it could take some time depending on how much data there is, especially in these free format systems. But
yeah, and we don't know.
We don't know.
How obviously we don't know. I'm just reading from their cyber incident report that they put, cybersecurity incident report that they put on their website, which again, interesting to say the least. I do appreciate when companies do this because at least they give you some feedback. But still, it's kind of interesting. Health Equity got hacked too from a third party, so I'll probably like if you have like Health Equity like HSA, you'll probably get like a letter from that. There's just been a lot of and that was like a third party.
Actually, I think that might have been one of the ones I got.
Oh, yeah. Well, sorry. But a firm is affected by this. There's a couple other things affected by this Evolve Bank issue. I think Wise is another one. I can't remember what Wise does though. But there's other finance firms that used Evolve, so they're going to be affected too. So it'll be
They said a lot of fintech was using Evolve as their back end, and so it's going to affect a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, Melio used them. Mercury. Okay, yeah. So a lot of fintech. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the fallout happens from that. But I mean, we'll see as this goes on. That's the major one that was in the news. what can you do? You know, you can lock your credit if you used Evolve, if you used Affirm or something like that. They're giving you information. I'm sure when you get if you get the email from them, you know, follow the instructions. You'll probably have to sign up for credit monitoring, and they may have some other identity theft protection involved. It looks like that's what they're saying. They don't give many details in their report, but you know, stay vigilant with your credit. It happens. We'll see.
Well, everyone in the U.S. should have free credit monitoring for life by now.
Yeah, if you don't,
It doesn't stack though.
and
That's
even
the
the
problem.
most
It's
important
actually
thing is to the most important thing is to freeze your credit.
Absolutely.
well, the important thing is to unfreeze your credit before you go try to get credit too.
Well, that's after the fact, but at least you don't want somebody else warming it up for you.
You know, because you forget, and then you go try to get a loan or something like that, then you can't because your credit's frozen and you deal with that nightmare scenario. But yeah.
So we just had we just had a holiday weekend, actually holiday week, more like it, and it's been pretty quiet. I guess I probably shouldn't say that out loud from any major instances. You know, we came off the CDK piece, but you know, one of the things I saw in the newsfeed that came out around was was yet another big data breach of a big data dump called RockU 2024, where you got 10 billion passwords leaked at the time. Scrolling through some of the data here, it looks like even college all the student applications for one of the state colleges in New Jersey was listed in there. Almost 10 billion passwords. It'd take a long time to test all those passwords, though.
You'd be surprised. Run through some tools, you can. It's much more efficient to use a password list like that. That's too many passwords to run through legitimately. Like if you're trying to actually correct. Well, not that I would know anything about correct passwords, but if I did, it's still like a list of that many takes a lot. I mean, we're talking.
Yeah, but you're going to dedupe it first because there's got to be tens of thousands in there that are all the same.
Well, it's 160 gigs. So
I'm sure a well-equipped Chromebook could handle the whole horsepower needed to go through this.
There's a reason NVIDIA sells so many GPUs.
Yeah, they're
gaming, crypto, AI, password hacking.
Password hacking, yep. Number 4.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past it. It's interesting though because it's a kind of reminder to people, and just in general, don't reuse passwords. Because as you get these password lists, these dumps, like a lot of people just reuse passwords. It's insane. And
or they start putting numbers after them, thinking the bad guys can't count.
Well, yeah. There's ways to append things to automatically. So if it's just numbers, it's not really a big thing. But you know, a lot of the cyber attacks that we see, people do something called credential stuffing, and that's just where they use known good credentials and they just attack random systems with those credentials, seeing if they can get in, right? So when your information's out there, if it's linked to like your email address and your password and you've reused it 10 times, well, guess what? If it shows up in one of these leaks and somebody can tell that you know, they'll use common sites. Maybe you have, like, let's think Amazon, Netflix, I don't know, pick a shopping site, right? Like, where they can maybe get access to something and like steal money and get a shipment and stuff like that. So be careful reusing passwords. It's never good. I mean, Carl told me before the show that he only uses 3 passwords.
I use baseball 1, 2, 3, and this is the best one. Is password spelled backwards. Yeah. Those bad guys can't figure that one out.
Yeah, I hear that admin spelled backwards is really safe too. You know?
If you want to get real fancy, administrator backwards. Yeah, what you're talking about A1 security at that point.
Oh yeah. But you know, it's just good practice. Like we talk about multi-factor authentication, we talk about things, but like just please use a password manager. Please don't use the same passwords. If you've heard of something called passkeys, that's an interesting one, and that's really where you can sign into a passkey is kind of like how should we say this? It's for passwordless login. So a device that you use can create like a basically you're allowing your device to connect to your account. Best Buy actually supports this. Google supports this. Microsoft supports this. It's more secure because when you go to log in, you don't actually give them a password. You've just got a key associated with you on your device. You can log in. So like maybe your iPhone or Android or your computer at home, right? They all support passkeys now. But there's an attack out there that is called a passkey redaction attack, where they can actually serve up a web page that looks like a login page for, let's say, Microsoft or Google, and they can remove the passkey option on the page so you don't see it. So if they trick a user in a phishing email, it's called a man-in-the-middle attack or an adversary-in-the-middle attack. You're going through a reverse proxy and you're putting your credentials in, and you're seeing you're seeing a login page, and it's normally you'd see, you can sign in with a passkey. Well, maybe you can't because they took that off the website. So then you have to sign in with another authentication choice, like maybe username and password and MFA. Well, they can steal that. They can steal that token as it comes back. So it's a way that they're subverting better security by just tricking the user and not showing the option for the user. And I know that's a lot, but it's just an attack that's out there. This is how people have been stealing multi-factor authentication over and over again, is being able to use these links that people look. And it's not actually a Microsoft webpage. What you're seeing is, but it's hosted on a server someplace, and they're just stealing your credentials as you go through that. And it's something that we've demonstrated at live events. It's how MFA can be basically stolen for like a single website, but now they're using it to subvert other technologies that are more secure because they're just hiding that from the user. And it's kind of wild out there, like what efforts are being put towards tricking users, but then what they're doing to actually subvert like better security.
Passkeys are being used on multiple sites at once, so it is that single sign-on option. So if someone does take the effort to get it and figures it out, now they got more places to try it.
Well, the passkey should only be good for one site.
Passkey should only be good for the site of the device.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so a passkey is tied to the device and then the site. Now, some password managers support passkeys, which technically would make it your account can serve a passkey to it, but it's really only supposed to be used for like one computer or one account or whatever. And it's different for every single website. But when you remove the ability for somebody to take the passkey, because almost every site that supports passkeys also supports just a normal username, password, and MFA, or username, password without MFA, and that's where they're tricking the users because they're just hiding the passkey option. So if somebody did go, hey, I set up a passkey, cool, I'm more secure. Oops, I clicked on this link and didn't realize it, and now it's not giving me the passkey option. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I know what my username and password is. I'll just log in. And when they do that, they give up a session token, and now people have access to their account. So we see this a lot with just email compromises, right? Like people go to log in Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, and they get that stolen, and then people get logged in, and then it becomes a whole thing. So as security gets better, implementations get better. There are things you can do to not be susceptible to that attack, but it takes more advanced configuration. It takes really talking to experts to make sure that they're configuring things right, to kind of make sure that if that attack happens, it doesn't really affect you. So I know it's a little heavy for this, so you want to finish up with quite frankly one of the funniest stories I think any of us have seen, right?
Yeah, it was a winner.
Okay. Japan declared war on floppy drives and finally won on June 28th.
This year.
This year. 2024, by the way. Yeah.
And for kids, those of you playing at home, a floppy disk was a disk that was between 3.5 inches for the new ones and 5.5 inches, I think it was.
The biggest one, Carl, was 8.
8, yeah.
It used to be 8-inch single-sided flop.
Congratulations, you guys just got clipped on the internet. Congratulations. Good luck with that. All right.
Anyway, guys, let's wrap up, and maybe next week we'll figure out who kidnapped Matt this time, and go from there.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe does kids kidnap him?
That's called enforced servitude. Every parent knows that.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, comments, telling us that we're psycho. If you want any more clarification on something, just drop us a note. Let any of us know. We're here to help. We're here to support you. Here to help you with information. And until next week, stay
Yes.
cyber safe. We'll talk to you guys next week.